battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Nur als Imposant.
Good evening, America. You are watching World DNA with me, Raisha Saigal.
And I'm Hemkor Saroya, and on the show today, US President-elect Donald Trump has refused to rule out using military action to seize control of Greenland and retake the Panama Canal, citing economic security as his primary concern. And Trump's expansionist vision does not stop at Greenland. He even floated the possibility of renaming the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America. We'll get you the latest on this on the show today.
Also on the show today, there seems to be seismic changes in the social media sector in the US. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg has announced sweeping changes to its social media platform Facebook. Well, it will now end its third-party fact-checking program and move to a community notes model similar to one that Elon Musk's X uses. What are the consequences of that? We'll get you all of that on the show today. Lots more lined up, but first a quick check on the headlines.
And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way.
El Canal de Panamá y su zona adyacente es de Panamá y lo seguirá siendo.
Panama says that the sovereignty of its inter-oceanic canal was non-negotiable after US President-elect Donald Trump refuses to rule out military action to regain control of the Panama Canal.
We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name.
US President-elect Donald Trump again threatens Mexico with massive tariffs over illegal border crossings. Says he is going to rename the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America.
Honestly, I think they've come a long way. Meta, Facebook, I think they've come a long way. I watched it. The man was very impressive.
Social media giant Meta to end its fact-checking program in the United States and replace it with community notes written by users. President-elect Donald Trump says the decision probably is a response to his threats.
Rebel group in southern Syria who helped topple Bashar al-Assad says it is not convinced by the idea of dissolving armed groups after country's new rulers requested them to disarm.
Former Cambodian opposition MP shot dead by a gunman on a motorcycle in Bangkok, as per Thai media reports.
A fast-moving wildfire sparks panicked evacuations in Los Angeles suburb, with thousands ordered to leave as life-threatening winds whip the region.
The body of late President Jimmy Carter transferred to the U.S. Capitol in a grand and solemn military ceremony where it will lie in state until a national funeral later this week.
Ready, step. Ready, step.
Newcastle United have taken control of the EFL Cup semi-final tie with a 2-0 win at Arsenal. Alexander Isak continued his rich goal-scoring form, and now the Magpies are favourites to make it to the final.
US President-elect Donald Trump has refused to rule out the use of military force to seize control of the Panama Canal and Greenland.
And this, as he declared, US control of both will be important to American national security. A day after Congress certified his election victory and less than 2 weeks before he takes office on January 20th, Trump, in a press conference at his home in southern Florida, left open the use of the American military to secure both territories.
Your staff to take a specific action to drop land. Your references to Greenland and the Panama Canal. So, what can you explore that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
No.
And can you tell us a little bit about what your plan is? So, what is the strategy?
Yeah, I can't assure you, you're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two. But I can say this, we need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. I'm not going to commit to that now. It might be that you'll have to do something.
The Republican president-elect's intention marks a rejection of decades of U.S. policy that has prioritized self-determination over territorial expansion. But Trump, since winning re-election, has repeatedly returned to the idea of U.S. territorial expansion, including taking back the Panama Canal. He said that the canal is vital to the U.S. and claimed it's being operated by China.
Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way. Giving the Panama Canal is why Jimmy Carter lost the election, in my opinion, more so maybe than the hostages.
Donald Trump criticized deceased and late former U.S. President Jimmy Carter for permitting a handover of the Panama Canal when he was the president. The canal was built in the early 1900s and the U.S. maintained control over the canal until 1977 when treaties negotiated under President Jimmy Carter gradually ceded the land back to Panama.
Panama President Jose Raul Molino has refused to entertain negotiations over its control and rejected Trump's claim, saying there is no Chinese interference in the canal. Trump also ruffled European feathers with a separate territorial proposal, and that is to buy Greenland, an island abutting the emerging Arctic geopolitical battleground that he sees as important to U.S. security.
Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security.
His remarks came at a time when a U.S. delegation of aides and advisors that includes his eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., is in Greenland on what was described as a personal visit with no official meetings scheduled.
Greenland, home to a large U.S. military base, is an autonomous territory of Denmark, a longtime U.S. ally and a founding member of NATO. Trump, with his remarks, cast doubts on the legitimacy of Denmark's claim to Greenland.
However, Denmark's Prime Minister insisted on Tuesday that Greenland's future should be decided by its inhabitants.
Greenland is not for sale. The United States is our absolute closest ally, and we want to work closely with them in all defense and security questions. It is also regarding the North Atlantic, where tensions are rising. We have a clear interest in that it is the United States that plays a large role in the area and not, for example, Russia or other countries. But Greenland is for the Greenlandic people.
And for more on this, the correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report. Listen to this.
President-elect Donald Trump on Tuesday made some controversial comments about U.S. expansion and military use. He suggested renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America and refused to rule out using force to take over Greenland and the Panama Canal. Trump cited economic and national security interests and concerns, accusing Denmark and Panama of mismanagement. Greenland officials quickly reiterated that Greenland is not for sale, echoing Denmark's sentiments back in 2019 when Donald Trump attempted the same. Panama dismissed its claims as well. Now, critics argue that these comments risk straining international relations on the one hand and could also spark geopolitical tensions. Analysts say that these comments are negotiating tactics and appeal to Trump's base, but the feasibility of such actions may be legally and diplomatically questionable at the end of the day. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
China has openly admitted that its president Xi Jinping is in touch with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump.
This is China's first official admission of the talks between the two leaders in the lead-up to Trump's inauguration.
And this comes day after the Republican leader told a conservative radio host that he is already in touch with the Chinese President Xi Jinping through representatives and expects that he will get along with his Chinese counterpart. China's foreign ministry also confirmed this news. It even said that Beijing attaches importance to Trump's comments.
China attaches great importance to the previous statements made by President-elect Trump. China and the United States have maintained communication through various means. China is willing to work with the United States to uphold the principles of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, win-win cooperation. We will promote the stable, healthy and sustainable development of Sino-US relations for the benefit of both countries and the world.
Speaking about the United States' partnership with China, Trump also said that the ties between the two countries is a two-way street. He further added that China is ripping off the United States for $1 trillion a year. China believes that its economic and trade cooperation with the United States is a win-win situation for both the nations.
This is not the first time that Donald Trump has indicated that he has been in touch with the Chinese leader. On December 12th, Trump's team confirmed that the US president-elect has invited Xi Jinping to his January 20th inauguration. Experts say Donald Trump's first 100 days in the Oval Office is a litmus test from Beijing. This period is seen as a window of opportunity for China to strengthen contact with Trump in a bid to avoid any further tensions with the two competitors. Canada's ruling Liberal Party has an uphill road ahead after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his resignation on Monday.
The party now grapples with the critical question, who will be the face and succeed Trudeau, that too in election year?
Well, several names are making the rounds. We take a look at some of the top names in the running. Contender number 1, Dominic LeBlanc, Canada's current finance minister, who took over the reins when Chrystia Freeland resigned her post. Much to everyone's shock, LeBlanc has been considered a long-time close ally of Justin Trudeau. In fact, he was the one who accompanied the outgoing Prime Minister during his visit to Mar-a-Lago with Trump.
Contender number 2 is Transport Minister Anita Anand, an Indian origin politician and formerly a lawyer. Anand entered politics only recently in 2019. She has jumped across several portfolios, first as Defence Minister in 2021, then oversaw Treasury Board briefly before being appointed as the Transport Minister and the Minister of Internal Trade.
Melania Joly is the third contender in the list of probable names. Appointed as the Foreign Minister in 2021, Joly has been at the centre of some of the Trudeau government's greatest foreign policy challenges. The 45-year-old previously contested polls to become mayor of Montreal and is believed to have strong backing from Trudeau.
Contender number 4, François-Philippe Champagne, who is currently Canada's Minister for Innovation, Science and Industry. Champagne was formerly a businessman and international trade specialist. He has been politically active for almost a decade after he entered the Commons in 2015. Some analysts have dubbed him as Canada's Energizer Bunny for pushing Canada-made products on the world stage.
And lastly, contender number 5, Canadian economist Mark Carney, a contestant who has not held a political position so far. But he has an illustrious career. He has held the top post at Bank of Canada and Bank of England for 12 years in total. For the past few months, the 59-year-old has been a special advisor to Justin Trudeau. But shortly after Trudeau's announcement, reactions poured in from Canadians across the country, and this is what they had to say on Trudeau's resignation and perhaps the future of the Liberal Party. Take a listen.
It's time for some new, good, real people to put into office. Okay, we gave you 10 years, you let us down, step down as Prime Minister and step down as Liberal leader. Thank you. Na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Goodbye, Justin Trudeau.
I think there was a general loss of confidence within the party, but also within Canadians, within the Canadian population. So I'd say it's a good thing, and it would be a good idea to start again and see how we can improve things for Canadians, but also within the government.
I think it's better he resigned, and now they can get a leader in that maybe more people nationally will support him. I think that after 10 years, he's pretty much given his all. I think that in all and for all it was quite correct, but now I think it's fatigue and the wear and tear of power.
And as Russia's military gains momentum on the battlefield, Ukraine is facing an internal crisis.
A surge in desertions is depleting its ranks at an important juncture in the war, with manpower dwindling and morale sinking. Kyiv may be at risk of losing its footing both on the battlefield and in future ceasefire negotiations. Our next report telling you more.
Russian forces intensified their assault. Fighter jets, drones and missiles pound Ukrainian positions. Artillery shells rain down relentlessly, and Russian tanks carve through Ukrainian defenses across frozen battlefields. In this harsh winter offensive, Ukraine faces another graver challenge: desertion. Soldiers are abandoning their posts in alarming numbers, leaving critical gaps in defense lines. Even outside the battlefield, cracks are showing. In France, where the Ukrainian brigade Anne of Kyiv is undergoing military training, dozens of soldiers have reportedly deserted. The brigade, part of an effort to bolster Ukraine's readiness for Russian offensives, now struggles with morale and discipline issues. On the Eastern Front, the desertion problems deepens. Facing relentless Russian bombardment and witnessing comrades fall, many Ukrainian soldiers are abandoning their posts. Accounts from the trenches paint a grim picture of soldiers overwhelmed by the unrelenting violence.
It happened that we were attacked. We were pulling back, and after that many of us didn't really want to return to the position. And the battalion commander started gathering the ones left, and we didn't want to attack back. That was our trigger. We wanted to live.
When you are in a position, engaged in fighting under constant shelling, it's not seen as you have a big concussion, so you're not taken to a hospital. Even just staying under constant shelling results in gradually damaged mental state. You go crazy step by step. You're all the time under stress, huge stress, and you don't control yourself anymore.
The numbers are staggering. Over 100,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been charged under desertion laws since the Russian invasion began in 2022. Compounding the crisis, Kyiv struggles to recruit new troops, leaving critical vulnerabilities as Russian forces seize territory at the fastest rate since the war's early days. Desertion, dwindling recruitment, and relentless Russian pressure creates a perilous situation for Ukraine. The outcome could reshape the war's trajectory and determine Kyiv's leverage in future peace talks. As the crisis escalates, Ukraine must find a way to stabilize its forces or risk losing not just ground, but the war itself. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Antarctica, the driest and iciest continent in the world, is under a tight grip of climate crisis.
Climate change is causing the ice sheets to melt. Rising greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are responsible for this.
The continent, otherwise known for its thick ice sheets, penguins and seals, will now soon be known for its erupting volcanoes. But the question is why? It is important to note that Antarctica is home to over 100 volcanoes, many of which lie hidden beneath the ice sheet, particularly along the western coast.
The continent, divided east to west by the trans-Antarctic mountains, includes volcanic giants such as the Mount Erebus and its iconic lava lake. But now a new study reveals the melting of Antarctica's ice sheet, driven by the climate crisis, may increase volcanic activity under the surface.
The study highlights how the weight of the ice sheet acts as a cap on the magma below. When the ice melts, the overburden pressure drops, allowing gases dissolved in the magma to escape, much like opening a soda bottle. This gas release builds pressure in the magma chamber, increasing the likelihood of an eruption.
The eruptions occur beneath the surface and may not be visible, but they can have significant consequences, as the heat produced during volcanic activity can accelerate the process of melting of ice sheets further. The study raises concerns about Antarctica's long-term stability and the implications for global sea levels.
Antarctica sea ice has been shrinking in recent years, hitting near record lows in 2024. The 2024 winter maximum for Antarctica sea ice was the second lowest on record.
And with that, it's time now to slip into a short break, but we're leaving you with all the climate stories making headlines today.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
Welcome back. You're watching World DNA with me, Raisha and Haim. Lots lined up on the show, but first a quick check on the headlines.
Honestly, I think they've come a long way. Meta, Facebook. I think they've come a long way. I watched it. The man was very impressive.
Social media giant Meta to end its fact-checking program in the United States and replace it with community notes written by users. President-elect Trump says the decision probably a response to his threats.
So we're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name.
US President-elect Donald Trump again threatens Mexico with massive tariffs over illegal border crossings. Says he is going to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way.
El Canal de Panamá y su zona adyacente es de Panamá y lo seguirá siendo.
Panama says the sovereignty of its interoceanic canal was non-negotiable after US President-elect Donald Trump refuses to rule out military action to regain control of the Panama Canal.
Former Cambodian opposition MP shot dead by gunmen on a motorcycle in Bangkok, reports Thai media.
A fast-moving wildfire sparks panicked evacuations in Los Angeles suburb, with thousands ordered to leave as life-threatening winds whip the region.
The body of late President Jimmy Carter transferred to the U.S. Capitol in a grand and solemn military ceremony, where it will lie in state until a national funeral takes place later this week.
Ready, step! Ready, step!
The father of the world's richest man, Elon Musk, claims his son would be interested in buying EPL side Liverpool. Fenway Sports Group, the owners of the club, have looked for external investments but have never considered a full sale.
It would be basically, are you prepared to die? Then that's okay. Then
Social media giant Meta is set to get rid of third-party fact-checkers in the US.
It also plans to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship and recommend more political content on its platforms, including Facebook, Instagram and Threads.
Announcing the changes, Meta founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg said that Meta will end its fact-checking program and replace it with community notes written by users, similar to the model used by Elon Musk-owned social media platform X.
But the fact-checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system.
Zuckerberg also said that the company is making changes to its content moderation policies around the world. Meta's surprise announcement echoed many of the complaints made by the Republicans and Elon Musk about fact-checking programs that many conservatives see as censorship. They argue that fact-checking programs disproportionately target right-wing voices.
Musk reacted to the announcement with a social media post, writing, "This is cool." President-elect Trump, on the other hand, took credit for the changes, saying that Meta's decision is probably a response to his threats.
Today it would stop putting fact checks on its website and instead allow community.
Yeah, well, I watched their news conference, and I thought it was a very good news conference. I think they've come a long way. Meta, Facebook, I think they've come a long way. I watched it. The man was very impressive. I watched it on Fox. I'm not allowed to say that.
The shift came as Zuckerberg has been making efforts to reconcile with Trump, including donating $1 million to his inauguration fund. In recent years, Trump has been a harsh critic of Meta and Zuckerberg.
While Meta also added Ultimate Fighting Championship UFC head Dana White to its board of directors. Now, White is a close ally to the US president-elect.
According to reports, Meta is only planning the changes for the US market for now, and there are no immediate plans to end its fact-checking program in places like the European Union. The changes will take effect. The changes will impact Facebook, Instagram and Threads, three of the world's biggest social media platforms with more than 3 billion users globally.
The changes will perhaps also raise the question of authenticity and how reliable will be the community notes, as instead of using news organizations and other third-party groups, Meta, which owns Facebook, Instagram and Threads, will now rely on its users to add notes to posts that may contain false or misleading information.
For more on this, we are now being joined live by Michael Owens from Georgia. He is the president of U.S. Global Center for Cyber Policy. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, of course, tectonic changes announced the social media sector in the social media sector of the United States. Talk to us about the far-reaching consequences of this decision, and essentially what does this mean for the way the Trump administration now converses with the American public?
But, you know, this has potential to have far-reaching consequences, and it's potentially one of the most consequential things that we've seen recently relating to censorship and how, you know, Meta as a platform has focused on how they say they want to handle freedom of speech. You know, Meta is positioning themselves, you know, in this where they say they are commitment to free expression, but that also could lead to potentially false or misleading information, and that can remain unchanged. Now, you know, unfortunately, you know, former President Trump, has constantly had battles about this and even gone to his own social media platform, Truth. And, you know, it's been really challenging as we think about how we move forward and making sure that that platform from Meta is something that will still be enforced by community standards that, you know, are making sure that we don't have harmful content, making sure that there's protection against hate speech or violence, and make sure that we're relying less on, you know, the third-party fact checkers to verify everyday posts and news. I think it's needed. Unfortunately, or it's just a reality that when many people see something on the internet, they see something on Facebook, they believe it as fact. And so having the necessity there to have fact checking, that we can have confidence when we read something that it has been fact checked, is very important. So not being able to have that is going to be huge. You know, the implications of misinformation is almost unfathomable when we're dealing in a time to where the news cycle is so fast and there's so much information that's constantly coming out, especially in areas like elections, public health, and climate change, where there's, you know, a higher propensity to have conspiracy theories that are out there, where, you know, the average consumer really needs information that they can trust.
Right, Mr. Owens, you clearly mentioned that this move perhaps raises questions on the authenticity. But Zuckerberg, during his announcement, he said that more free speech and fewer mistakes. I want to seek your assessment if this move by Zuckerberg is perhaps to stay on the right side of the president-elect before the inauguration day, because we've known in the past that Facebook had banned Trump after the January 6th Capitol riots.
Yeah, you know, there's a history with trying to determine what side, you know, the good side or bad side of Trump that Mark Zuckerberg is on. And they've had times where it seems they've been rather friendly and times where that relationship has been rather cold. Obviously, you can't discount the timing of something like this when it comes to President Trump and how he reacts to wanting to make sure that he has control over the media. And, you know, that's probably the scariest part about this. And, you know, a lot of the work that I do is in the cybersecurity space and ensuring that we protect and have integrity, right? Confidentiality around data and making sure that there's integrity. And that means making sure that the data that you are reading, that you can have faith in it and that it's validated and it's been verified. And it's very problematic to me sitting here now that by not having this, it only adds fuel to those, as I mentioned before, to those conspiracy theories or just misinformation that will be out there, which unfortunately President Trump in the past has seemed to relish in. He seemed to, has known to be a little free with telling the truth in scenarios. And so there's concerns, a healthy amount of concern, the timing of this and the past information that we've seen or past actions that we've seen really leads us to a place where we really have to wonder, you know, where we're going in the future and how much of an impact this will be. Look, there's billions of users worldwide they have. The shift in this policy can significantly impact how information is consumed, but more importantly, how it's interpreted. And, you know, that's really what I think is at stake here.
Absolutely, Mr. Owens. I also want to expand on that a little bit. Of course, misinformation being the most obvious consequence of this move. That being said, what would you say could be a better alternative to perhaps supplement the community notes to eradicate that?
I mean, it's tough because what happens is when you start to have erosion of public trust, when you have credibility that's being damaged, whether that's already been done in the past or something that's happening in real time, you do have to look for other alternatives. You know, I always encourage people to look for second and third sources of information. You know, not to take anything that you read at face value. You know, whether that is information on Facebook or anywhere else. Look for information that you may not be able to find in any other well-known outlets. You know, are you going to your favorite news channel to try to determine, are they reporting it as well? If, you know, maybe if this is the only place you're seeing it, it may not be true, because as we know now, without it being fact-checked, it definitely could be less reliable sources of information. So go to credible outlets, go to more than one outlet. But, you know, my concern is even further than that, because, again, when we start to think about, you know, this election just ended in the United States, when we start to think about further elections around the world, you look at items like potentially voter manipulation, you know, misinformation about candidates or about a candidate's policy. If those things go unchecked, it definitely can impact, you know, have global impact on different elections, as well as foreign interference. You know, we know that elections around the world have been interfered with different entities, and we want to make sure that we have credibility, and we have outlets like Facebook that can remain and hold that credibility.
Right, Mr. Owens, thank you so much for joining the story.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
In other news, Pakistani security forces conducted 3 intelligence-based operations in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province on Tuesday.
At least 19 militants and 3 soldiers were killed in these operations. According to the Pakistan Army, an intelligence-based operation was conducted in the general area of Mathani of Peshawar district, where 8 terrorists were killed in the operation. Another operation was conducted in the Baizai area, where 8 more terrorists were killed by the security forces. In third engagement in Karak district, Pakistani troops killed 3 terrorists.
However, 3 Pakistani soldiers lost their lives in action. Pakistani army is carrying out continuous operations in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as sectarian violence reached its peak in recent times. The area has seen an uptick in influence of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, Tehreek-e-Jihad Pakistan and other local groups in the region adjacent to Afghanistan.
According to data by Center for Security and Strategic Studies, the year 2024 turned out to be the deadliest for Pakistan's civil and military security forces in a decade, with overall fatalities reaching a record 9-year high and over 66% more than 2023.
On an average, nearly 7 lives were lost daily. The heaviest violence took place in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa with over 1,500 fatalities, followed by Balochistan with 782 fatalities. A total of 270 terrorists were killed by the security forces in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province in 2024. And this included some high-profile militants with bounties on their heads.
And India's top defense officials highlighted the country's growing need for developing cutting-edge indigenous technology.
But timelines and efficient turnaround to strengthen defense infrastructure is a pressing need. It's a paramount issue. At a defense seminar on self-reliance in the aerospace sector, India's defense secretary pushed for a faster and more efficient procurement process with respect to the defense sector.
What is happening in our country is that our procurement policy, for example, for a long time has been, again, I'm saying as a kind of a dispassionate observer, now I'm part of it and we need to find solutions for it, but the procurement policy in many ways was broken. And I make no secret of that. It's true. We've not been able to do things on time.
Now, India's Air Chief Marshal AP Singh echoed a similar sentiment. The top official stressed on the need for meeting timelines to ensure the technical prowess remains impactful.
Air Marshal Singh cited the example of long pending delivery of 40 Tejas aircraft that were ordered almost 15 years ago.
So defense is one sector where time is very important. If we don't meet the timeline, that technology of no use to me. So we need to learn from our failures, move on, but not be scared of those failures. Funds we have just heard of, that R&D funds are woefully short.
Speaking of funds allocation, the Air Marshal called for an increase in defence budget along with a boost to allocation for research and development. Chairman of India's Defence Research and Development Organisation also stressed on the budget paucity and the need to increase it further. The comments come just weeks ahead of the annual budget.
We are just about at 5%, should be at 15%. And we have to make sure that these funds are increased and they are available to private players also.
India has been pushing for a more strong domestic manufacturing ecosystem with respect to defence infrastructure. Now, between 2019 and 2013, India was the world's top global arms importer with an increase of 4.7%.
However, the country has also bolstered its ranking as an arms exporter, being one of the top 25 nations to export a wide range of defence products.
It will be depending heavily on the success of its flagship program, Ramos supersonic missile.
Inflation claims Canadian Justin Trudeau as its latest victim, with his resignation the beginning of a potentially dramatic reshaping of the nation's economy.
Now, the next Canadian federal election was originally scheduled for October 2025. However, with Trudeau's resignation, the election will be held sometime in March. Digital asset firms in Canada are quickly putting what they've learned from the crypto industry's high-profile triumphs in the US elections last year into practice.
In November last year, pro-crypto US lawmakers were victorious in most competitions. A former skeptic of cryptocurrency, Donald Trump, won the presidential race. The price of Bitcoin surged by almost 40%, breaking the $100,000 mark, and Trump appointed proponents of digital assets to his new government. Cryptos were a hot topic, with digital asset businesses spending almost $135 million supporting lawmakers in the US election. Advocacy organizations Stand with Crypto also helped make the topic a prominent US election issue.
North of the border, crypto hasn't been as big of a topic among politicians, but the industry hopes that will change. The Canadian political system prohibits corporations from contributing to political elections. The maximum amount a person may give to a political party or its candidates is $1,750 Canadian dollars, or about $1,213 US.
Despite all these limitations, the Canadian crypto sector has continued to make strides. Stand with Crypto expanded to Canada in July, but the Canadian branch is not looking to endorse contestants in the upcoming election. Instead, Canada's crypto industry would like to see digital assets become a bigger focus in that election, similar to how it was in the US.